welcome to Talks with Lakeisha. I am your host, Dr. Lakeisha James. This is show 5. If you guys have been tuning into the first 4 shows, it's really been enlightening. And you guys, I'm sure you guys learned some great things. So today, I have a very amazing woman that'll be joining me a little bit later. And the topic that we'll be discussing is perfectionism. Yes, perfectionism. But before I introduce her, I want to talk to you guys about my second book. My second book is called I Am. This book established me as an international best-selling author. And my chapter was called Being the CEO of Your Life. When I was writing this book, it brought back so many memories of what I was going through in that season of my life. You guys know we go through seasons. It can be a long term, it can be a short. It can be like a couple of weeks or it can be a month. But I was going through this season in my life where I did not really like myself. So in this book, you'll learn more about that season and also what you can do to come out of that season of darkness that you don't like. But I want to read something to you guys from my book. Again, my chapter was called Being the CEO of Your Life. The steps to making it happen is like climbing a mountain with no rope. No resistance, but in the back of your mind, you know that you were created for this. Implement a plan and take action. So again, this book is still selling. I hope you guys go out and purchase a copy because it'll definitely empower you, enlighten you, and encourage you through those dark times of your life. So back to my guest. I met her back in 2017, and you guys are going to be amazed at what she brings. She's so humble. She's amazing. She's from London. And every time we get together, we have Jamaican food, but it's been a minute since we had Jamaican food. So if you guys know that we'll be talking about perfectionism. She is a perfectionism therapist, and we're going to learn a little bit more about my guest. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you guys to my guest, Bianca Hughes. I'm so excited about this, guys. Hi, Bianca.
Hello.
I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Now, Bianca, I was telling my audience, when we first met back in 2017, we met at a networking event.
Yeah.
And ever since then, we've been having Jamaican food.
I know.
But we haven't had Jamaican food in a while, y'all. I gotta have my buddy, my Jamaican food. We gotta go back and get the Jamaican food, right?
Wow, we'll see.
Yeah, she's busy, I'm busy, so we're gonna try to put it in our calendar. But I want to ask you a question, because I'm really interested in to know, like I was sharing with the audience, that I'm a perfectionist, and I know that you are a perfectionism. I get tongue-tied every time I say that, right? Therapist. Mm-hmm. So tell me and the audience who's all tuning in, don't forget to get your pen and paper because you definitely want to take some notes. What is your why behind what you do?
That is a really good question. So I always like to share this story. Mm-hmm. I actually never wanted to work with perfectionism. I was working as a therapist and really wanted to niche down and see what was most important. And so I remember kind of heard from God, do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that because I knew my own stuff and I didn't really want to sit down and work with people who had been where I'd been. I didn't want to be reminded of where I had been. But after I like to tell people throwing a temper tantrum, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I will say it has been the best thing I have ever done. When my first client came in, they were sitting on the couch and they were just reeling out all of their problems, and I could connect to them and I could understand all of their problems and relate to them. So I am my why. Because I'm still working through perfectionism. I don't feel like it's something that goes away. So I'm always able to share, love, grow, and learn.
You gotta say that. She's still working through her perfectionism. Now see, this is why she's here, because I'm still working through mine as well. Because I remember a time I was very vague when I was in high school. I think it was in high school. I was still living at home, of course. And my sister had moved back home, and she had to be in my room. And for the life of me, I don't know, it's it bothers me when things are out of place. I guess it's the perfectionism in me, I guess. But it's I would go behind her and just pick things up. I don't know what it is. And then even when I'm working in my brand now, it's I got to be perfect. I don't know. And I think for me, perfectionism causes me to procrastinate.
Of course.
Why is that? Because we just have to, it's just, everything has to be so perfect. Like, why does things have to be so perfect?
Let's back up a bit.
Okay.
So perfectionism is a consistent and exhausting cycle of trying to be enough, right? And so ultimately, in this exhausting cycle, what you're trying to do is avoid rejection. If I can avoid rejection, then I can avoid possible disconnection from other humans. So you're on this cycle to be perfect because you believe that's what you have to do to be accepted, right? So the way procrastination comes in is that we want to do things right the first time. We expect ourselves to do things right the first time. And if I don't feel like I can do it right, I have all the resources, then I'm going to procrastinate.
Wow.
Sounds familiar?
Sounds familiar. Like,
Sounds familiar.
wow, procrastination. That's interesting. Wow. So yeah, if you're a perfectionist, then you're a procrastinator, unfortunately. And I know a lot of people say, no, it's not procrastination. It is procrastination because you want things to be perfect the first time. Now, Bianca, what triggers procrastinate? I mean, what triggers perfectionism?
When you mean, when does it show up?
Yeah, like, do we have like triggers? Like for me,
Yeah.
I think perfectionism, I guess when I'm like maybe writing a book, like I guys told you about my book, like it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like I continuously read it, cross things out, go back sides, doesn't sound right. So yeah, what triggers that? What causes it?
So that's so true. So one of the big things is something new. So if there's something I've never done before, you know, all of that procrastination, the fear, the critical self-talk, not feeling like you are enough or that you're worthy of doing this. So when anything new, it could be a transition, a new job, writing a new book, becoming a parent, being a new partner, getting married. So anything new in our lives can trigger that perfectionism. I want to do it right. I want to do it perfectly. I don't want to be rejected. So for me personally, it's anything new, right? And when we're in situations where we feel like we want to people please.
We're going to talk about that when we come back. People pleasing. Bookmark that. We're going to be right back with our amazing perfectionism therapist, Bianca Hughes. We'll be right back, and I hope you guys stay tuned. Now, you have a time to go drink some water and go to the restroom, but definitely come back and hey, tune back in with us. We'll be right back. Did you guys go and get your break? Because we are back with my amazing friend girl, perfectionism therapist, Bianca Hughes. Now, Bianca, before we went to break, you said something about people pleasing. Tell me more, because I know sometimes I'm a people pleaser. Tell me more about the people pleasing.
Our tendency to people please. Yeah. So people pleasing is about getting validation, right? To make us feel worthy, to build our sense of self-esteem.
That's that word again, worthy. Wow, worthy. I'm sorry.
That's fine. So we tend to go against the things that are important for us when we are people pleasing. So we'll cross our boundaries, we will overextend ourselves, or we won't speak up and say what's really true for us because we don't want to bother anyone, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But here's the thing. The question I always say to people, and this is a part that people don't consider because sometimes they think they're being really nice or being helpful, but my question is, why don't you want to set boundaries or why don't you want to say no?
Good question. I just learned how to say no. I think it was last year.
And most of the time, often with this and the perfectionism is because we don't want to experience rejection. So in a way, it's kind of self-centered, the people pleasing. Because we benefit because then we don't experience any pain.
Wow. You guys hear that? About that people pleasing, huh?
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That is the very hard part because I find myself being a giver And when you're a giver, that means you're pleasing people. You really don't think about...
Not necessarily.
Oh, I stand corrected.
It really depends on why are you giving. Are you giving for a response, or are you truly giving because you just want to see this person? You want to, support this person, or are you giving because you want them to say something nice about you and you want them to like you? That would be more of the people pleasing.
See? People pleasing, the giver. See, this is why I was excited to have her on the show, because it's going to tell me more about me being a perfectionist, right? So as I was sharing with you guys earlier, I think I have OCD. Well, I don't think. I know I have OCD. And my next question to Bianca, since she's she's an expert in this field, right? Is OCD a form of perfectionism?
Okay, so we have to be very careful with that term OCD.
OCD, okay. We're going to learn more about this, okay? I hope you guys are tuning in.
So OCD is a true diagnosis, but perfectionism is not a diagnosis. Perfectionism is a way of thinking and believing. So it's more about our thought patterns and what we believe, going back to, I don't believe I'm enough. So it's a lot of not feeling like you're enoughness. So it's really about how you think and see the world. And I don't use the term perfectionist because that tends to be the whole person, and it's really on a spectrum. And so I might be a perfectionism in my clothes, but maybe not in my job. So deal with perfectionism. So that's why I say that. OCD is a full-on thought diagnosis dealing with intrusive thoughts, and it truly is debilitating. And so I think when people say, oh, I'm just OCD because I like to clean, no, it's just you really like things a certain way. Because if you was OCD, you would be dealing with these really intense thought patterns that cause a lot of anxiety, and you get stuck and you deal with contamination or order because of where your thoughts are taking you. So, yeah, you have to be really, really careful when you're using the term OCD. However, people with OCD can deal with perfectionism.
And I guess that's where I am. I'm a perfectionist and I deal with OCD. So OCD is diagnosed.
OCD is a diagnosis. So yeah, if you've had an official diagnosis, yeah.
That's interesting. Are you guys enjoying this topic? Have you guys really thought about if you're a perfectionist? Has anyone ever told you that you're a perfectionist outside of hearing our expert here, Bianca Hughes, tell you about perfectionism? So Bianca, is there like I won't use the word cure. Is there any help that perfectionists can get? I mean, do they like come to you to talk about what they're feeling, why they're feeling the way they're feeling, or how does that work?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I do this work, because you can get really, really stuck in the thought patterns and the beliefs. So again, like we said, you're not procrastinating, or you're working super, super late. You keep beating yourself up. You're very judgmental or critical of yourself or of other people. You're feeling like you're not enough. You're feeling like you're inadequate. And so that really impacts your sense of self-worth. So that's what I'm working on with the clients, and really trying to get to this space of helping them become more aware of their thoughts, their behaviors, and their patterns, reconnect to themselves, challenge those things, explore. So then they're then giving themselves permission to connect to their authentic self, because most of the time they're so focused on being perfect, they don't even know who they are. They often feel lost, or they even like dimming their light. They're not really shining through because they think this is who I have to be for the rest of the world. So with that being said, my focus is on really helping people embrace their imperfections and authentically be themselves. So meaning accepting who they are, their strengths, and not so much working on what's wrong with you, but seeing what's great and being able to see you and know that you are enough.
That's interesting. Know that I'm enough. Do you guys know that you're enough?
Yeah. Do you?
Do you know your worth? You said something. I know for me, I know we go through different stages in our lives to make us who we are. And I think for me, I really found out who Lakeisha was maybe a couple of years ago.
That doesn't surprise me.
And and I wonder, like, does everyone go through that phase where you're really trying to figure out who you are? Like for me, I know perfectionism. And People tell me that all the time. But it's like you go through different phases of your life to know exactly who you are. Now, Bianca, have you become in a phase of your life that you really actually know who you are?
Am I in a phase of my life where I know who I am?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. I say yes because it's ever evolving.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I know, but I feel like there's always an opportunity to discover a new part of yourself, right? So it's always evolving, and I think that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely, evolving. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we're always evolving. Well, hey, did you guys take a lot of notes? Yeah. So when we come back from our break, because you know we got to pay the bills. When we come back from our break, we're going to have a few more minutes with our amazing, amazing guest, Bianca Hughes. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Are you guys taking notes? I hope you guys are. So we're going to get right back into it, right? Because we want to have a little bit more, 5 minutes with my guest here that's taking time out of her busy schedule to be here. And, of course, tell us more about perfectionism. So, Bianca, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, as I was doing research, trying to think of, conversation starters for us to talk about perfectionism. I want to know, because I'm a control freak. So when I say I'm a control freak, I have to be in control of everything. Mm-hmm. So being in control, is that part of being a perfectionist?
It's one of the signs, yeah. So going back to, I have to control everything to be perfect because I have this specific outcome in mind. So it's an attachment to outcomes. So I believe this is how it should look. This is how dinner should look. This is how my life should look. And so I try to put everything in order to have this specific outcome. And that's why you tend to control everything.
Is there a cure for that? It's bad, you guys. If you guys listen, the people that know me know that I am a control freak. So I want us to know what that perfectionism. So that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, so it's going back again, like I said, so because you're attached to the outcome, it's surrendering and letting go your attachment to the outcome. And also we're attached to the outcome because we feel like if, I don't know, I have 2.5 kids and a dog or whatever, that means I'm worthy. Right? So now you're attaching this end goal to your sense of worth. So a lot of the perfectionism is about achievement. If I achieve, then I'm worthy. And so if I achieve this experience or this goal, then that makes me worthy. So I can't deter from the goal. So it's being able to adjust to outcomes, adjust your goal, and also being able to let go of the goal or whatever it is you think, and just allow space for life to happen, because life is going to happen. And so that's why the tendency to control, because we just have this attachment and feel like that's our worth. So when we really connect to who we are and see that we're worthy, just in this moment, I'm worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy because you're human, then, and when you can begin to see that and accept that, then you're able to let go of the control.
That's interesting. So, is being a perfectionist hereditary?
I would not say it's hereditary. I would say that it comes from our upbringing. So, I know people don't want to hear this, but parents,
gotta hear it, hey.
Caregivers, the school, the images that we see, the expectations that are put on us by society that are said and not said, the words that we read. And so if you're constantly being told an A is not good enough, then the message is well, I'm only good enough if I get an A. If your message is this is how you live your life, and from all the images or the movies, and your life doesn't look like this, then that you're like, well, what's wrong with me? Am I not good enough? So all of those factor in to the perfectionism. So I wouldn't say more so hereditary, but it's a learned behavior. It's a learned way of, like I said, going back to the believing and thinking about yourself.
Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. So it's about my upbringing. Yeah. Can a lot of you guys relate about your upbringing? I mean, if you guys have been a perfectionist, just sitting here listening to Bianca and speaking on her expertise in her field about perfectionism, I've learned a lot about that today. Now, Bianca, does that go hand in hand with like low self-esteem? Maybe because I know you say a lot about worth. When you're speaking, you say a lot about worth and self-worth.
I think when you're in the depths of it, yes. So I was explaining to you that this is something I've worked on and it can still crop up when something is new. So that doesn't mean necessarily that I don't believe I'm worthy, but it just might be in this situation, I may feel that. But on a whole, do I believe that? No. So yes, it can be, but it's just, like I said, it's a thought, it's a way of believing that crops up. And once you kind of get used to it, you're like, oh, you're here again? Oh, okay, this is what I need to do.
I like that. Oh, you're here again. Recognizing that it's showing up, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't belong in your dwelling. I like that. I love that. I love that. So you've been doing the perfectionism therapist for how long?
About 7 years, 6-7 years now.
7 years. 7 years. Yeah. And when your clients come to you, are they like full aware that they're perfectionism, or does it just come out in you guys' sessions?
So some clients know. Some have an idea, or some they've read the language on my website, so they connect and they can understand. So some may have been told, some already know, and some might not have an idea, but the language on the website has brought them in to be like, oh, maybe that is something I'm kind of struggling with. So yeah.
Interesting. Because I think I self-diagnosed myself being a perfectionist because I just saw the signs. And I'm sure you guys that are tuning in self-diagnose yourself as a perfectionist. So yeah, but thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed sharing this platform with you. I really enjoyed, a lot about myself being a perfectionist.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Lakeisha.
Absolutely. And I know you guys learned a lot as well. So, this is the end of our show, right? I hope you guys learned a lot today. I did really learn a lot, took a lot in. I do have another question for Bianca before the end of the segment. So Bianca, for me as a perfectionist or the people that are tuning in, is there like affirmations we can say to speak positivity into ourselves when it comes to perfectionism?
Yeah, so I'll give you 3.
She's gonna give us 3. You guys got that pen and paper? Yeah. Take notes.
So the first one is, I am enough. And then the other one is, being kind to myself is natural to me, because we tend to be so harsh with ourselves. And I am enough simply because I'm human.
You guys got that down? Write those down. I took a mental note. So you guys, thank you again, Bianca, for
You're welcome. Thank you
definitely coming in and sharing expertise. We got to have that Jamaican lunch dinner soon. So my next show, of course, we'll be talking about robots. So I hope you guys tune in to the next show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Show 5. Again, I am your host, Dr. Lakeisha James, and thank you so much again, Bianca, for being my guest. Until next time.